Hey fellow traders! Did you ever wonder why the trading recap is one of the most valuable tools in your trading journeys to become a more consistently profitable trader? Let me offer you a couple reasons why. First, recapping your trades help you learn from your mistakes. Every trade's win or lose is a chance to refine your strategy. Maybe you got into early or ignored your plan. A recap makes those mistakes crystal clear so you don't repeat them again and again. Second, it reinforces good habits. By analyzing what worked in your winning trades, you can double down on those strengths and build confidence in your strategy. Third, it's all about tracking progress. Trading isn't about just getting rich overnight, it is a process, and recap let you measure your growth, spot patterns, and stay disciplined. Fourth, it helps you understand your emotional state. Did fear stop you from taking setups? Did greed make you hold on your trade for too long? Reviewing your trades help you master your mindset. So whether you're new or experienced, don't skip trading recaps. It's not just a trading summary, it's a blueprint for your personal growth. So if you guys don't know me, this is Stock Tiger, and I've been a swing trader for over 12 years and just about a year in a prop firm space. And from a grand scheme of things, the takeaway from my recaps last week was two things. First, I kept moving my stops while I was on a trade. And second, if that particular trade was truly beautiful, grade A plus setup, I should have taken a stab on that trade with confidence and attacked the trade with full size position instead of being on a tier 1 position. So this is my takeaway from the recap last week, and something I should have done better at it. But again, as long as you know your mistakes and if you are making these recaps a routine, this will certainly make both you and me a more consistent trader and be able to stay in this game for much, much longer and consistently banking profits, which is obviously the most important. So I'm going to leave this quick introduction about why these recaps are truly so important. And if you want to continue checking out my recap from here, you are certainly most welcome. And I hope my trading recaps really gives you a little bit of a motivation and support to your trading journeys. Mic test, mic test, mic test. All right. Alright, just guys, this is just a recap on last Friday during the London session, right at about 5 o'clock in the morning, just about an hour before we start the New York session. We had a really nice pump on that morning. I just wanted to go through just a couple things there on this trades that I did on the pre-market, and just want to go through some couple important levels again, and just try and see what sort of mistakes that I've done and whatnot, right? If my trades were pretty clean or we kind of missed a lot of opportunities. I just want to go back and just go through that morning session that I had before we had a bigger pump in the market in the morning. So let's just go through the couple things here. So I hopped on a live stream early in the morning at 5 o'clock into about 6:30-ish. So it's pretty much like an hour and a half live streaming session in the morning, and I was just looking for a very base hits that morning because that's not really the usual time that I would be trading. So I was obviously trying to be very conservative that morning because I didn't know where the market's gonna go, and of course we found ourselves getting pretty close to a major resistance levels, and I wasn't sure the market's gonna do. So I was like, let's just make sure we trade safe, protect our profits, and not go too aggressive during that day because it was the last day of the trading week, and I keep telling that to the members as well. But really on the last day of the trading week, we want to really try and protect our profits and just try and stay away from bad trades and losing accounts, blowing accounts, losing a lot of profits, down $3,000-4,000, down $1,000. You want to just stay away from all these dramas as much as you can, especially during the last day of the trading week. And so that obviously becomes very important. And so that was my idea coming into that day. So this was last Friday. So last Friday would mean, what is the date? So that was literally on the 17th morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was trading this, and so this trade that I saw, I kind of felt like we have a lot of momentum, and there's a lot of buying pressure in that EMA, right at 315. So I was like, let's just try and be. You want to be safe, and you want to go slow, and you want to go really conservative on these trades. So the first thing first, I said to myself, I don't want to be anything beyond 4 contracts, 4 micro contracts during that morning. So I went into this trade, if I can recall this correctly. I went in there and I said, okay, I like the straight setup here because all these EMAs held really well. And as you gotta pull back into the EMA, so the really nice trades that that we want to looking for is when you get a pullback, we want to see if the support levels are holding really well. And are we seeing a lot of demand? Are we seeing a lot of interest? Are we seeing a lot of buying pressure? Are we seeing more buyers than sellers, right? So we had this big dump from here at the very top at 360 all the way down into 307. And then all of a sudden we got a nice little buying pressure popping all of a sudden. And then if you just take a look from a 30-minute standpoint as well, you got a nice little bullish hammer candle formation, right? On a 30 minutes, right? So as soon as we got this confirmation and a bounce of these 2 EMAs, a very important EMAs, I was like, you know what? This is the time to hop on a long. And I would have been obviously I would have preferred to be in from this 322 instead of this 326. Nonetheless, I hopped on along the 334 and I said, okay, well, this the worst case scenario is a pullback into the EMA support, and then my stop is going to be in that 320, which is kind of nice looking risk reward. I think this could have been a potential 2-to-1 setup, so you're losing 1 to get 2. So that was my idea with 2 micro contracts. And just keep in mind that even if it's a pre-market, you still have a potential to make easily a couple $100 in a single trade, even with 2 micro contracts. So it doesn't really have to be the mini contract, because if you're on the wrong side of the trade and with 1 mini contract, you are going to get smoked. So with that in mind, I went 2 micro contracts, and I was looking for this level to hold at 334. Hello, Yes Gun, what is up, brother? How was your day? I got interrupted here for a second. So I said to myself, as long as we hold this 323 to 334, we should be golden on this trade. So I put my stop at 320, thinking this could be definitely a setup to the long side. And don't really get too nervous about this pullback here. So that's what I did. I hopped on along, and then let's see what happened after that. I'm gonna fast forward this trade, and guess what? I got out. Why did I get out? Because the selling pressure here from that 349 was pretty significant. So as soon as I saw the selling pressure being a little bit more aggressive than I was expecting right from the get-go, I hopped on a short. Again, this is a little bit late in the game, so ideally you want to be short from 340 to 336 area when you first saw the first big rejection candle there. You should have hopped on a short, but then I was a little bit late in this game. But even then, nonetheless, the selling pressure was pretty aggressive, and I said, okay, let me just hop on a short side here with I think it was 2 contract if I'm not wrong. And then guess what? Let's just see what happens. My stop would have been the previous what do you call this, 343. That would have been my stop. So if you try to get above 343, this short trade that I'm in right now no longer becomes valid, right? And so I was looking for a quick scalp if I'm not wrong on this trade, and let's see if we got it. Let's see if we got it. I don't remember if I actually got this or maybe I got stopped out. I'm not really sure, but I have my hard stop there, 343, just in case. This is definitely the kind of day, which is the pre-market at 5:30. You don't want to be cute with these, right? So you want to make sure you have a hard stop on this, just in case things go south, right? So I was in this trade. Let's what happened. There we go. All right. So what did I do? I said I want to give this a little bit more room. So I've moved my stop. I don't really know if moving my stop was a good idea. I'll be honest with you. I do that time to time, not every time, but time to time. But ideally, what you want to be doing is right from the get-go, before you actually get an entry, you want to make sure you put a stop. You know exactly where you want to stop, and you don't really want to move that stop though. That is the way to go. But occasionally, like out of 10 trades, I think most probably like 3 times I would just move. And I moved for a good reason, but I should have done that from the first go, right? It means at the time when I got into this entry, I should have think about this. I should have thought about what if, but maybe it doesn't sound like I did. Okay, so I put a really tight stop on that, and I was like, if it stops me out, that's fine. I'll walk away with a loss, minimal loss. But then all of a sudden, when we go to bounce, I move my stop, and I move my stop to 352. So let's see what happens. So I'm fast forwarding this right now. I'm fast forwarding. Let's just take a look and see what happened. We are starting to get a pullback here, interestingly. So we got a rejection off that EMA. It's just not have enough strength to get a bounce, but let's see what happens. Alright, got a rejection. It looks kind of weak, but it's trying to bounce off that level as well. So if I left my hard stop, the initial hard stop that I put on there at I think 346, then I would have got stopped out. I would have literally got stopped out, right? Because I've got a really tight stop. But then of course I ended up moving my stop to 352, which is really kind of good and bad. But the idea behind this is when you are getting into a trade, you don't want to move things around too much, because what that essentially is telling you is you were not confident, or you didn't have a very strict strategy, or say the game plan on that trade right from the get-go. And that's why I'm saying we should not move our stop once we find an entry, and that's ultimately what it's supposed to be. Now okay, so now you're seeing a nice little bounce in this trade. So I think I kind of lost in this trade. I think I was down about $100 if I'm not wrong. So you got a nice little bounce here. Of course, I'm down $100 in this trade. But let's just say if I had my hard stop as is, and if I didn't move my hard stop, I would have lost a lot less. But then of course I ended up moving my stop to 352, and on top of that, I exited this trade because I did not feel comfortable. So too many changing minds in between the trades, that's not a good thing. I'll be very honest with you. That is something I think I should try and improve on. When you're on a trade, you want to trust your trade. You're in a trade because you have confidence that the probability or the chances of that trade working out on your favor is high, and that's where you're entering that trade. But if you enter and keep moving things around, I think it's a no-go. I think that's a red flag. And right on this couple of trades that I already had during this pre-market, I think it's already a red flag. I think the kind of trades I was in, I think it's a bogus. I think this is like literally the kind of things that you really don't want to be doing. I'm giving you guys a really good example of the things that I shouldn't be doing. And I think it's a really great thing that I'm recapping this right now, because This is definitely not the thing that I want to see when I'm trading, for sure. Kind of feels really embarrassing because when you're in a trade, you really don't want to be moving your stop. You're in a trade because you have a total confidence in your trade. And if it doesn't work out in your favor, then this is it, you know? It's gonna stop you out and you just walk away. Just come back again, look for the better entries, look for the better setups. But if you keep playing with your entries and stops while you're actually in that game, you have a big problem. I think that's just not the way to go. So it means you're kind of like taking your trades very lightly. Of course not. I mean, you're not taking your trades lightly. I'm pretty sure I didn't take my trades very lightly, but the fact that you keep moving around, you just not really have a lot of confidence in your trades, right? And so right from the get-go, you have to have the proper set of game plan, what you plan to do. Unfortunately for me, I don't know. I think this is the first two trade I had during that pre-market session on Friday, but then obviously I did a lot of bad things. Obviously, it did not really end up being a bad trade, but what it was is maybe a little bit less confidence in these trades, and I kept moving things around too much. Ultimately, you end up losing if you do that. Anyways, this is my third trade of the morning session. I ended up going with 3 contracts, and so the nice thing about this is I gave a lot of room to the downside. So I got into 3 contracts, and I said to myself, in the worst case, we pull back underneath the 300, and that would be my hard stop. My tolerance is up until that 300, and I was kind of looking for a little bit longer trade on this. So the more you try to stay in the trade for longer, you have to give the stop, your hard stop, a little bit more room for this trade to actually work out, right? So it's gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down, and eventually it works out on your favor. But in order for this chart and this trade to play out the way you want, you've got to give yourself a little bit more room to the downside, right? Just in case. So what I did was I put my stop on my 300 level, so I give itself a little bit more room to the downside. And my entry is not that great, by the way. My entry is pretty close to where the resistance level is at 349. So not really a great entry. So my entry would have been, the better entry would have been at 327, but of course 349, 340 area, not a greatest entry. And that's one of the reasons I went to 3 contracts. I would have gone into 6 contracts, but I didn't do that because my entry was bad, right? And I've got to think about where my stop is going to be, because my stop is now underneath the 300, and I'm only willing to lose only so much, right? So I had to downsize my position. I went 3 with a stop at 300, and what I was looking for was a squeeze and get above the resistance level and push and get an extension to the upside. Now let's see, we actually got that. What is up? Yes, Gun. What is up? Chilling Guy 18. What is up, brother? Kevin Guna Wardana. Good morning, dear. Good morning. It's good evening here, by the way. Kevin, this is good. This is good evening here. We're approaching 5:30 right now, brother. It's time to go to bed. 5:30. Bro, one of the things that I saw you do in one of the streams is adding to a losing position. Adding to a losing position. I was kind of doing the same, but I stopped doing that. I only add to position only when it's on the green. We can all relate on the moving stop. Okay. Yes, Gun. Yes, Gun. One of the things that I saw you do is you're adding on a losing position. Okay, so I don't want to go too much in details about that right now. Let's just see. Okay, so this is the trade that I've done. This is the streaming. It's a recap of the stream that I did in the pre-market session just yesterday in the morning at 5 o'clock to 6:30. I was live streaming that morning for like an hour and a half. And this is all the trades that I've done. So far, this is my 3rd trade of that day. And the first trade, I don't think I've added anything. So let's just use this stream as an example and see if I've actually added to my losing position. Okay, let's just use this as an example. But I know what you're talking about. We'll come back to that conversation. But let's try and use this as a trade, as a sample, and see if I've actually added to my losing positions. Okay, so let's just quickly fast forward this this trade that I'm in right now. So I'm looking for a squeeze to the upside. I kind of felt there was a reversal here. I kind of felt like we had a nice push to the upside. If you just take a look at this, and then we have a nice little consolidation, a bull flag consolidation here. Right, and I was like, you know, maybe this is the moment for us to start seeing a squeeze to the upside. Okay, and to be a little bit more specific in sort of this trade that I was thinking was, what do you call this? I looked at this and I said, you know what, this could be a falling wedge. And so falling wedge is usually you get a big push to the upside right here, big push to the upside, and you have a nice little consolidation, meaning a slow, very minor, kind of like a pullback, right, into the next support level, and get another leg to the upside. So that was what I was looking for. I said to myself, we held this 310 really well, we held the 322 really well. There's really no reason why this cannot make another push and get another leg to the upside. We had the first move, and then we had a nice little consolidation here. All the EMAs were held, the support levels were held. Why not get another leg to the upside? And that's why, even though my entry was a little bit late, my entry would have been better if I was at 322, but then of course I didn't get that entry. So I still got an entry at 341, thinking we're gonna have a little nice push to the upside. And let's see what happened here, guys. Let's just take a look. I'm fast forwarding right now. We're trying to break out right now. And obviously we got a pullback here, just a small pullback. We try to bounce off these levels again. Let's see what happens. I trailed my stop, by the way. I trailed my stop to 329, thinking if we pull back underneath the 329, this thesis of falling wedge and the consolidation is invalid. Okay, and I was just kind of like trying to be better at damage control. So if you get a bigger pullback, I just want to stop out pretty quick, so my loss is very minimal on this trade. We broke out of this channel at 349, and that was an immediate push to the upside. So guess what happens here? The great thing that I've done here, immediately I move my trailing stop. I move my stop and I trailed it. I first went to the break-even trail, and then I moved it to the bottom end of this candle, and of course the next support, and that was 349. Initial resistance now is going to start to act as a support. The 349 was a resistance initially, and then now it's going to start to act as a support just in case we get a pullback. So I moved my stop to 349, thinking we are gonna get that extension. So if you just take a look from a 30 minutes time frame, we broke out on a 30 minutes, and then I trailed my stop. Nice looking trade here, by the way. I think I took my profits off one contract or what. Let's just take a look. I'm rewinding here quickly, just trying to see. I thought I had 3 contracts, but oh, there we go. So I took one off right here. I took one off before we actually try to get closer to a major resistance at 349, and just in case, I took one off right here, 349, and I'm down to 2 contracts, and I was looking for an extension now. Fast forwarding right now again. I moved my stop to trail. I trailed my stop to 349, and now I'm looking for an extension. I do realize we have a major level, major level here at 371 to 386. Okay. I'm fast forwarding right now. Wow, look at that move to the upside, guys. That's 2 contracts right now. I didn't move my stop. I did not move anything. I didn't take any of my profits again from here because I only had 2 contracts, and I thought we have a better push to the upside here. So I was like, you know what? I want to grab some of this piece. So I didn't take any of my profits. I'm surprised that I didn't move my stop. I'm surprised. Oh, okay. I'm moving it right now. I'm moving it right now to the next support, which is 363 area. And now let's see if I've actually taken some profits off, because it's a major level here at 386. So it would have been nice if I took one off right here. I didn't do that. I still kept holding my 2 contracts. Ideally, I would have taken one off the table right here and just leave one for an extension. One more extension to the upside. I am definitely a little bit surprised that I didn't take my profits here. Anyways, guys, it is what it is. Luckily, this thing kept going. Wow. Luckily, this kept going. This kept going. And surprisingly, I haven't taken my profit. So ideally, I would like to see, the thing that I would like to see here is I should have taken one more off the table right here. I should have done that. I didn't do it, but let's see when I was gonna take it though. I'm very interested to know, when did Stock Tiger take one off the table? Let's find out pretty soon. I'm fast forwarding this. I'm fast forwarding this. Hold on, guys. Okay, I see what happened here. So what I actually ended up doing is I kept this trade thinking we have a lot more room to the upside. I left this trade as is. I didn't close that position. I just entered long from a different account. So I went to a different account and I was looking for a scalp. I was looking for a scalp here. So here I went with how many contracts again? Let's see. I went with 10 contracts, 10 micro contracts. And I said to myself, we have a lot of momentum to the upside. My initial account that I was in, I'm not going to take any of my profits off. I'm going to let that ride the long. And I'm going to move to a different account and do a quick scalp. And so I got in with 10 micro contracts. Initially, that's like a 1 mini contract. So I hopped on along with 10 micro contracts in this trade. And I was looking for a quick momentum, a push to the upside here, and I realized the momentum to the upside is too good to miss, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go with 10 micro, because the thing about 1 mini contract is I'll have to take one profit and then just walk away. But what I did was I took 10 micro contracts and I spreaded the TP across 4.8 to 4.24, and guess what happens now? All my TPs I think got filled. I'm not really sure. Let's just find out. But the initial first 3 or 4 got filled. 4th, 6th. We have the last 4 Ps. Let's see if we actually got filled. So this was a good idea. A good idea meaning it was a nice looking game plan. I came into this trade knowing exactly what I was looking for. I realized there's a lot of momentum on this trade, and I love scalping against the momentum, and that's exactly what I've done. As soon as I saw pullback here, with the wick and a rejection there, a lot of selling pressure, I said, you know what, let me just get out of this trade and go back to my old trade on different account that I was actually still in there. So here I'm back into my first trade I was in with 2 contracts, and I trailed my stop, which is great, into the 360, 386, which would be initial, say that's my sort of like a support. So if we crack underneath that area, then obviously it's a very bearish sentiment move in the market, which I didn't think it's going to get there. But I still kept my stop at 386, and I was waiting to see what the market does. I still did not take any profits off the table because I knew there's something there that is going to definitely move the market to the upside. And I even drew a candle, initial candle, and I said, we may get a pullback here, but then if we get a pullback here, that's not the end of the world, because we get a nice little minor pullback. This thing's again is just gonna go, because there's a lot of strength in this candle right now. So I still did not take my profits off the table right here. What I was kind of looking for was a consolidation here, because we had a nice little pop in the market. We had nice little green candles, four nice green candles there. So I said, well, maybe it's time for a little bit of a pullback here, a very minor pullback and a consolidation, almost like a falling wedge again, and then get a nice little pop again, another leg to the upside. And let's see what happened. We broke out again from that 3 minutes candle. We broke out again, and I still haven't. Oh, I got out of this trade. Hold on 1 second, guys. Did I get out of this trade? No, I didn't get out. I just flipped to a different account. I went to a different account. I'm not sure what exactly I was looking for, but let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm here right now. Okay, so I took one off the table right now at these levels because I was kind of feeling this is way over to extend it. So let me just take one off the table and leave my last piece just in case we get an extension continuation to the upside. So I did not take my profits on my last piece. Oh, did I? Okay, not yet, not yet. I left it one piece, it's still there, and I moved now to a different account looking for a scalp again. Now let's see what happens here. Again, guys, I'm just recapping what I did on the pre-market session on Friday. Just going through my trades and trying to really understand if my trades were good or there's some weakness in the trades, or if there's something that I can improve myself to get better at it. And that's the whole purpose of this recap, by the way. So I got into this trade now. I think I've got like 4 or 5 contracts on this trade. I've got a nice little stop. I put a hard stop at the right place because I think if we pull back into that 407, this bullish move to the upside becomes invalid. So 407 was a nice hard stop, which is good. My entry is not great, but this is a scalp. When you're scalping, you know, what you're looking for is a quick in and out, and that's exactly what I was looking for. I'm not totally sure how many contracts I was in this trade. Let's just assume that I've got like 5. And I'm trying to peel profits as we get a nice little pop here in the market. So I already got my 2 TPs set at 428 and 431. So let's just see what it does. So my first TP got filled. Let's see if we actually get filled on the second one as well. Or are we gonna get a pullback here? I'm pretty sure I was a little nervous. The fact that the market is just way too overbought here. So I was like, I was kind of expecting, see the if you take a look from an RSI standpoint, we are well over 80. Anything over 80 is just an extreme overbought, right? So I was like, you know what? I don't want to hold on to these trades for as long as I want. I want to get in and I want to get out, right? And that was the idea. So guys, two of my TPs got filled. And I said to myself, nothing to lose in this trade. I'm going to hold on to this trade, but I want to make sure if this thing pull back, I'm not going to lose a dime. So I've moved my stop to break even now. I trailed my stop to break even. So I think this trade, I had 6 contracts by the way, and I took 2 off the table, and I had 2 piece, and I took 1 more piece off the table right here, and I've got 1 remaining contract there, and I put my stop at the break even as well. So I'm coming back to my other trade, my initial original trade that I was in, and that's with 1 contract now on this trade. And then I said to myself, well, you know what? We may be hitting the top here, short-term top, and so let's just walk away now. We are in profits. There's no reason for me to kind of like sit on this trade anymore. I'm not trying to swing trade on these trades. I'm just kind of like day trading. And you have to understand, you want to get in, but you also want to get out at the resistance levels, and we are sitting at the resistance here. And so I took my final profits. It was a big range, by the way, because I was in this trade from 340, and I took my final profits at 442. So guess what, guys? I held on to this trade as long as I can, which is a really good thing. And that's why it's really important that when you are trying to trade these things, that this is where the micro contracts becomes really handy. Because if you were in 1 minute contract, you would have taken your profits off the table pretty quick, because you don't want to lose your profits, right? But if you are in 3 to 6 micro contracts, you can easily try and peel your profits off the table along the way as the market hits all-time new highs during that intraday, and you're just taking your profits off, and then you leave 1 or 2 contracts there and move your stop to break even, and just keep trailing as the market tries to get above the initial high, and just keep building, creating a new high, right, during that intraday. And that's where the micro contracts again becomes really handy. And that's one of the big reasons why I like to use micro contracts instead of mini contract. Because if it was mini contract and I actually got into, say, 340 area, I would have taken my profits at like 365. So I think I'm trying to find some weakness in this trade that I was in. I did some. So this is like the 5th trade of that day. So I think the first 2 trades I already said that I move. I kept moving around my stop, so that was a bad thing. That was a bad habit. I shouldn't be doing that. So that was my initial trade. I think that's the first 2 trade I had for the day. The weakness of over there was I kept moving my stop, and I shouldn't have done that. But I kept doing it for some reason, and occasionally I do that sometimes. But the goal here is to not move your stop. It's you who press this button to get into an entry, and it's you who put the hard stop on there initially. And so why do you want to keep moving your stop? That's a bad habit, in my opinion. I think that's not something that you want to be doing. So anyways, that was the bad habits. I'm gonna have to find a way to fix that. But the last couple trades, which was this, was I think pretty good. I did not see any sign of weakness, if you will. I think it was a pretty well planned, and everything kind of like worked out pretty well. Right, I trailed my stop accordingly to the balance in the market at the right time, and I took my profits at the right places, And so overall, I think it was a good trade. I think the last couple of trades was pretty good. I liked it. I didn't see any weakness in those trades. So let's see if we can actually see if there was other trades as well. Let's just take a look and see if I actually got into other trades. Maybe not. I wish I actually did. I can't remember if I actually got into other trades. I'm very interested to know if I actually got into other trades here. Let's find out. Honestly, I can't remember. I know I had some nice trades, that's all I remember, but I don't remember being on a trade from here on though. Maybe I got in, maybe I didn't, I'm not really sure. So let's just find out what happened. Now I was just looking for a bigger picture here. So I was like, how far can this thing go? And that was like my thought process here, right? And so I try to take a look at the bigger picture, and that's I guess that's what it was. I was like, how far can this thing go, right? And here I was trying to explain to people, the viewers, that the RSI right now is pretty overextended. So we were sitting at over 80, and historically, if you just take a look, when you get over past 80, you get some sort of a pullback in the market. So I said to myself, we are going to expect to see some kind of a pullback like that you see on your screen right now. And so let's see if we actually got it though. But the market was just extremely so strong. I recall the market not pulling back at all, I'll be honest. So I don't really know if I actually got into a trade here. But let's just take a look and see what happened. The market really bouncing here, guys. 439. It did not even see any sign of a pullback here. No pullback whatsoever. And the RSI is really extremely overbought right now. It's over 85. That's like the most I have seen in a while. And the market just kept ripping, and I was like, man, you know what, this really doesn't make sense, right? Some sort of a pullback is definitely due, and I wasn't getting that. Yeah, exactly, TSI music. Oh, you got in that pump. You got in that trade pump in the pre-market. That's awesome, man. Hope you made a lot of profits in that one. Okay, right. So, and guess what, guys? I got into this pre-market. I don't usually trade during the pre-market, by the way. So I got into these trades, you know, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go a little conservative in this trade because I don't usually trade during this time of the day. And I only had like another 5-10 minutes to go to trade during this market because I had to go. I had to get out, and so I was kind of like in a rush as well. And I was live streaming at the same time, so it's kind of tricky. But we kept going. I think right here, I think we kept going. I remember this. And I know I got really upset. I was like, oh my dear. You get this bounce in the market. No pullback whatsoever. Did not give me a chance to get in again. And I think it just ripped. Oh, with one micro. You're so cheap. You're like Stock Tiger, so cheap. Anyways, the market kept going, and obviously I do recall telling myself that, wow, it's I mean, it is partly my fault that I missed this entry, but not really. If you just think about it, it was well over 87 from an RSI. It was definitely way over to extend it to the upside. Extreme overbought, right? And we are, if you just take a look from a daily time frame, we are sitting right at the pivot point. A pivot point, obviously a very hard resistance, and I was kind of thinking we are going to see some sort of a rejection here and get a little bit of a pullback. I wasn't looking for a major pullback. I was just looking for a bare minimum micro pullback in the market. And then I said to myself, I'm gonna hop on a long as we get a small little pullback in the market. And guess what, guys? I don't think I ever got that, right? So the market just kept going. And I did not get a chance to get into any of this trade, I think, if I'm not wrong. I kept going. I said, you know what? This is what I say here. 500 is a major level. Major psychological level, right? because that's the major resistance level. If you just take a look from a daily time frame, it's a major level. If we break out of this 500, it's just gonna go. I don't care whatever somebody tells me, it's just gonna go. So either we pop over 500 and get a rejection and get a nice little pullback in the market, maybe into the 495, was it 450? Yeah. Get a little pullback into the 450 again, or maybe into 386. So I was expecting maybe a bounce and get a bigger pullback in the market, and that was not going to be a minor pullback. Maybe we get a big pullback in the market. And so I didn't want to chase this now at these levels, right? And get myself chopped in the market. And so let's just see what happens here, guys. Yeah, I think it's very important that you stick to your rules. Maybe you missed an opportunity here, but because you've consistently followed your rules down the road, just in case the market starts to pull back, you're gonna go like, well, good, I didn't add to my position, because that bounce, if I had to chase, I would have lost a lot of money, because now we're getting a fade in the market. So the market kept going, and obviously I kind of missed out on this trade. But let's see. Alright, so let's see what happens here. We got a rejection off that 500, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we are going to see some kind of a pullback here. And I don't know if we actually got a pullback. Maybe not. Oh, we are actually getting some kind of a pullback. That was it, I think. That was it. Oh, I was trying to get into this trade. Okay, so here what I try to do is I was kind of looking for should I be entering this position, and what is my risk tolerance in this trade, just in case I chase this trade, how much am I willing to lose in this trade? And that's exactly what I was looking for, and that's the reason why you see I put a dummy entry there, just trying to see how much I'm gonna lose. That was a great plan there, right? The first thing I was thinking about was, if I chase these, how much am I willing to lose? And that's exactly what I did here. Beautiful thinking. That was a good strategy there. Of course, I did not ended up getting in this trade, but it was a good thinking though, right? Because I think every time when you try to get into a trade, the first thing you want to do is find out how much you're willing to lose in that trade. And if you just hop on along without thinking about it, then you are on a long term, from a long term perspective, you are putting yourself at risk with bigger failure down the road. So let's see if we actually got some kind of a pullback here. I think that was it. I think 470 was the low, and they just kept going. I think this thing actually ripped over 500. I think that's what it is. If I'm not wrong, I think we got a huge bounce here, if I'm not wrong, guys. Oh, and we also had a new member subscribe, Robert. And during the pre-market. We did not really went up, like it went sideways then went up again. Highest was like 21,660. Well, right now it's sitting at 500, and if you're saying we went all the way to 660, that's a pretty substantial move to the upside, right? So let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens. I'm fast forwarding this right now. I thought we got. I've just, you know what? I was just waiting for a pullback. By the way, I kept waiting for a pullback, and I didn't get any kind of a pullback here. So I wasn't in a trade, and I had to go. I think this is it. I think this is exactly what happened. We have another 1 minute to go in the stream, meaning my recap stream that I had last week. And that was it. That was it. You know, we never really got a pullback there. There we go. We never really got a pullback there, and it just kept going. And it just kept going. So I'm gonna take a look at another recap here, and this is the Thursday, I think Thursday during the Asian market. Yeah, so this is the stream that I got in on Thursday in the evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This was the Asian market session, and what I'm kind of looking for in this recap is I want to know if I actually did a lot of moving on my hard stop, because I kind of like I identified my weakness, um, and I want to see if I've actually moved my hard stop in a lot of occasions. And one more thing is I wanted to find out if I've actually added to my losing trades, because I don't know if I actually had a lot of losing trades, but I had somebody mention about that here. I think it was Yes Gun. Yes Gun was mentioning that he's noticed that I've added to my losing trades. I want to know if I've actually done that. So let's just use maybe this Thursday's evening session to see, look at a couple things. Number one is, did I actually move a lot of times, like my stops? And number two is, did I add to my losing trades quite often? The two things I'm kind of looking for. And if I actually did that, then these are things that I have to really try and fix for the future and down the road. So. Oh, alright, so I'm just taking a little deep breath here. Alright, so this is a recap of the Thursday evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the Asian market session. I'm just gonna try and go very quickly on this recap. And let's just take a look in these trades. So I'm just gonna fast forward into these trades, not going into too much details, right? So I'm fast forwarding right now. I'm fast forwarding. So right from the get-go on this trade during the Asian market, mm, I was looking for a balance in the market. I'll be honest with you. So every pullback, I was kind of going, it should be a buying opportunity for me. So I wasn't too afraid to get into a trade to the long side. And my first trade of the day during the Asian market was this right here with 3 contracts. I got in at 229, and I think it just kept going. Let's see what happens. The thing about the thing that I noticed on this trade is I don't have my stop. Maybe I was too overconfident that we are not gonna see a pullback in the market. And guess what, guys? I already drew a I drew a pattern what it's going to do right there. Is that the reason I didn't have my hard stop? That's being very ignorant. I should have had my hard stop at least into that 206 just in case, because it's Asian market, because there's no volume, a lot of bad things can happen. We could see literally a 40-50 points move to the downside all of a sudden in like 2 seconds, and that's usually the case during the Asian market. So a lot of things can happen during this session, and unfortunately I didn't have my hard stop. So that's a I think not a good thing and not a good habit, because in the long run it's not a good damage control. This would have hurt me just in case we got a pullback. This would definitely would have hurt me. So I identified an area of improvements that I can make is put a hard stop. I should have had my stop in that 220 area, or at least to a break even, just in case. But I didn't have any of that here. So all right, let's just keep going. Fast forward and see what happens. Now we are seeing some kind of a pullback here. I still don't have a hard stop, unfortunately. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I think I was just way too overconfident in this trade, thinking we are only going to go up on this trade. I mean, which is not a bad thing. If you have a lot of confidence, that's great. But I still should have had my hard stop just in case, and I didn't do that. So all right, so here I got out of this trade thinking it's due for some sort of a pullback here. We are approaching that EMA, the first real test on that EMA at 240 area. And then I drew a trend line as well, and I was kind of going, we may get a little rejection here, and get a pullback, and get a break to the downside from this trend line. So I thought we'll get some sort of a pullback here. So I got out of this trade, which is not a bad thing. I think that was a safe play, and I think there's nothing wrong about that trade there. But the only thing I noticed is we should have had a hard stop in that trade, and I didn't do that. So I thought we're gonna get a pullback here into where my drawing is, and that's the support at that's 222, and then bounce off from that level. And so I placed my entries. Already placing my entries there. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we actually got some kind of a pullback here in the market. We kept going. I put a fair value gap as well, just in case. I wanted to see where those levels are. Did those levels actually fall in line with this resistance and the support areas that I was looking at? Okay, so here guys, I mean, instead of getting a pullback, we had a squeeze to the upside from here. And obviously that would meant the pullback is not it's invalid. It's invalid now, so I obviously took off all my entries because pointless at this time. That sort of a bounce, you're never gonna get this market pulled back into my entries, so I took it off the table. And now I was just looking for an entry. Let's see, we broke out of a resistance at 247. Wow, what a momentum to the upside here. So now we broke out of a major resistance at 247. We broke out of that level. And now what I was kind of looking for was a little bit of a pullback here into the 247, because now 247 is going to start to act as a support. Initial resistance now acting as a support because we broke out of that level. So I placed my entries there closer to where my entries are, sorry, where the support level is. But then the market just kept going. So I decided to go for a quick scalp here, and I took my entries off the table there. So I went with 30 contracts here. So, and I'm looking for a scalp here on this trade because I saw a lot of momentum to the upside, and kind of felt like there's a lot of buying pressure. So why not scalp on this trade? So I went 30 contracts here, guys, 30 micro contracts. It would have been better if I went 3 mini contracts on this, but sometimes it's really difficult to flip back and forth between the MNQ and NQ. So I decided to just go with 30 micro contracts, unfortunately. And I was looking for a scalp on this trade. Let's see what happens. And of course, as usual, I place my TPs. As we get a nice little pop, I place my TPs here. And I'm looking to see if my TPs get filled. Let's see if we got it. I don't know if we actually got it though. We'll find out. As soon as we got this red candle, I was like, oh dear. I knew this. As soon as I enter, the market's gonna get a bigger pullback. That's just the way it is sometimes. And so the market pulls back here. Let's see what happens. I can't remember how this trade actually went out to be. But wow, this sort of a pullback. I'm down 330 bucks right there. 330 bucks off this red candle with 30 micro contract. That's a pretty significant number, by the way. And of course, I'm pretty confident. I was nervous about this trade. Was that a good game plan? The idea was okay. I mean, that's nothing wrong with the game plan here, because I was looking for a momentum trade. So a quick scalp into the momentum, right? I realized there's a lot of momentum to the upside. It kind of feels like chasing, but not really, because this is definitely a momentum trade. I'm looking for an entry into the momentum and looking for a quick scalp in the market. It was risky. This definitely was very risky trade, and I kind of felt like we may get a pullback. Just looking at the chart, we may. But on the other end, I was like, there's a lot of strength in the market right now. I don't see a reason why we can't bounce from these levels. So I don't think I got afraid. I held on to my 30 contract, and I think if I'm not wrong, I believed in this trade. I had a bit of a confidence in this trade, and that's the reason why you did not see me put a hard stop, which is another thing that I noticed again. I did not have my hard stop. Because usually when you are scalping into the momentum, you don't really think too much about the stop, because you're looking for a quick in and out, right? When you're usually doing that, you don't really place a hard stop. And maybe there's something that I've got to fix. So it doesn't really matter if you're in a scalp mode or any sort of a trade. You still have to have your hard stop just in case the market starts to pull back. And I think that's something that I have to start to improve on, maybe going forward, and try to put a hard stop on it. I actually made a note here on my desk to try and put your hard stop wherever needed, just in case the market does something different. Alright, I'm gonna fast forward this and see what happens. Alright, so we get a nice bounce. We're down to 24 contracts from the 30. I'm down to 20 contracts now. All my 10 contracts got filled. Now down to 18. And I guess this thing just kept ripping. Guys, that's what, I said to myself, okay, this is it. I don't want to take any more profits. I'm not looking for an extension here, and I'm not looking to be greedy. Let me just take this off right here. So I took a couple more off the table right here just in case, and I'm just left with 6 contracts. And I said to myself, you know what, if it's 6 contracts now, I can hold on to this trade a lot longer. So now I'm gonna trail my stop with a hard stop on it at 251, and 251 was where my stop was going to be, just in case the market starts to pull back. And now I'm looking for an extension to the upside, and this is the trade that I could hold on to this trade for longer. So that's what happens. Where did my stop go all of a sudden? I should have had my hard stop there. I don't know where it went, but all right, we try to pull back, and we are now starting to get a bounce. Oh, guess what, guys? We get a bigger pullback here in the market. And of course, surely enough, I did not have my hard stop placed anywhere, and the market starts to pull back and put me in a situation that I'm probably down about $100 in this trade. I have no idea what I was thinking. Maybe I was kind of thinking, yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what I was kind of thinking here. I should have had my hard stop, and by now I should have actually gotten out of this trade. But then I kept holding. So this is not a good idea. This is definitely not part of my process. I don't know what I was thinking, but this is definitely not sort of the way I normally trade. I should have had my hard stop. I didn't have any of that here. And on a bigger pullback in the market, I kept holding on to this trade. This is a bad strategy. This is definitely something that we shouldn't do as a trader. Actually, yeah, I'm still there in this trade with 6 contracts. I'm down pretty substantially. Maybe I was down what, $130 at one point. So let's see if we get a bounce in the market here, guys. Okay, so we luckily, I think I was just way too confident. I kind of felt like the market is just gonna rip, and that's not a way to go. Even though you are confident that the market is gonna give a nice little bounce in the market every time we get a pullback, I should have had my hard stop, and I should have walked away at a time when I need to. Because just in case, what if the market started to pull back in that 247 and never come back? What was that gonna do? Anyways, guys, luckily the market bounced off that support, and I think I took my profits off. I'm probably down to like 3 or 4 maybe in this trade. And guess what, guys? I still don't have a hard stop in this trade. What in the world was I thinking right there? Anyways, maybe I was kind of thinking, if we get a pullback, I'm gonna try and average cost and try to add to this trade. Let's see if I've actually done that though. Alright, guys, I'm down to 2 contracts now, which is good. Now I put my stop to break even. I actually got out of this trade because I did not feel very confident, I guess, right? Because we're not getting that sort of a bounce, a strong bounce, a strong momentum to the upside. So I said to myself, let me just take a step back here, get out of this trade, and look for a new entry. Okay, let's see what the market does at this level, because we are right now at the bottom end of the trend line, and we're sitting just right above the EMA. And I was like, you know what, we may get a bigger pullback here in the market. We are not seeing a lot of strength to the upside. Maybe you ran out of the buyers, right? So I took it off, which is not a bad idea. It's a good risk management right here. So that's what happens. So I drew a red line there, and I was kind of going. That's a major level of resistance there, and I drew a couple of boxes as well to show you guys that this level is a pretty significant level, because we had a lot of resistance and a lot of support in this zone. So there is going to be a lot of demand. There is going to be a lot of interest from both buyers and the sellers at these levels. So let's just call it a fair value gap as well at these levels, because there is going to be a sort of a big move that could potentially start to occur at this 264 level, which is obviously a major support, major resistance right now for now. So I thought we're gonna get some sort of a pullback from here, and that's why I went in and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna place all my entries right now. So on a pullback, I want all my entries to get filled. I get the best entry, average entry, and look for long, right? So I was expecting some sort of a pullback here. Let's see if we actually got it though. The first rejection there. The market was having a hard time trying to crack above this 266 level. Oh, and then we had the latest member of the stream, Dave. Whew. We actually broke out of the 266, but we also have to break out of the 272 as well. So at this point, I kind of felt like, you know, I don't think we're gonna get that sort of a pullback in the market. So let's just get rid of all my entries. So I drew this little drawing here. I said to myself, we may get a pullback into the 247, and then from there try to bounce again. So I was kind of like looking for a pullback here again at from 274 into 247. I don't know if you actually got it though. Let's see if we got it. So, oh, there we go. So instead of trying to wait for a pullback, I hopped on a short side from here, which is kind of like, it kind of makes sense because my risk reward is there right now, right? And so instead of just waiting for a pullback into 247, I said to myself, let's just ride this short. If I truly believe the market is going to pull back into 247, why not go short right here and put my stop at 280, right? Put my stop at 280 and hop on a long again at 247. That's exactly what I did. I actually added to this position, but I don't think this was a losing position. This was, I just added because I think I had a little bit more confidence in this trade. So from 6, I went all the way to 11 contracts here, by the way. So I'm up to 11 contracts, and I moved my stop to 277, which was obviously right above the resistance level. So if we break out and break out of that 274, that would be a nice little area of putting a hard stop on it, right? So 277 is where my stop is, which is nice. Nice little risk management here. But I've got 11 contracts now. I'm looking for a pullback in the market. Let's see if we actually got it though. We are trying to bounce off this 266 level, so none of my TPs I think got filled as well. So it was an extremely risky trade, and I was definitely very afraid because I realized there's a lot of strength in the market to the upside, and I was like, if you're trying to short this thing, you have to short pretty quick in and out. Shorting against a strong what do you call this, momentum in the market to the upside, it's a bad idea. So if you want to be shorting the market on the strength, then you have to quickly get in and out. Okay, not give too much room for the market to really kill you, right? So my hard stop obviously at 277. I would be risking about $200 at this point, and I'm looking for a quick scalp to the downside. So what I was essentially looking for was a nice little quick flush to the downside and bounce off those levels, from those levels. And that's why I put all my TPs right underneath my entries, because I was looking for a quick scalp into this trade. But we got a bounce, and I was like, oh shit, this is it. Now let's see. Ideally, I want to give some time for this trade to play out. Sometimes the kind of mistakes that I make is I start to panic and get out of these trades because we are seeing a nice little green candle, and I would just get out of this trade even though I have a hard stop in that place right there. And so let's see if I actually got out of this trade or if I stuck to my game plan and I patiently waited for this trade to actually work out. Let's see what happened. This is what I said to myself. All I need is a nice little red candle. I'm not looking for a flush to the downside and a continuation to the downside. All I'm looking for right now is a quick flush to the downside. Give me the kind of pullback I'm looking for and get a nice little bounce off that low. So far, I'm not getting the kind of like a trade that I was looking for. But the thing is, I was still patiently waiting for this to play out though. I did not give up my trade plan just yet. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I kind of recall what I was thinking at this point. I was like, should I get out of this trade? And I guess that's exactly what I was kind of thinking. All right, let's just take a look at this recap. This is the last recap here. We'll take it for another day because I gotta get going. So let's just see what happened to this trade. Look, it hit my first TP. All right, so it actually did end up hitting a couple of my TPs, right? If you just take a look, it actually took a couple, I think it took 4 off the table, 4 or 5 contracts. So I took my profits on a 4 or 5 and I still had 9 contracts still on the table. And so when we got this bounce, I said to myself, you know what, I better get out of this trade. And so I probably ended up losing about 80 bucks, but that was well managed risk at this point, right? Because that level held pretty well, and I just not see a reason why the market's gonna start to pull back. So I got out of that trade pretty quick, but I already took 5 contracts off the table on that one, and I got out of this trade pretty quick before we got a bigger bounce in the market. So the risk management on a losing trade was pretty decent, I think. So I ended up actually losing about 40 bucks only on this trade because I already took 5 contracts off the table. So guys, it was a nice little trade. I did not see anything wrong about this trade. It's just that I just did not get into the right side of the trade, and that was it. But the game plan, the trade setup was all there. It's just that I did not get a chance to be on a winning side. So anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching the stream. Recap for the day. I'll see you guys back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be the live streaming of the Asian market. 6:30, going live, trading the funded accounts. I'll see you guys back tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, you guys have a great night. God bless and peace.